Hare Krishna, we will start today's session, and today we are going to look at chapter 5. And before that, we'll do the Mangala Charana. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. I hope my voice is audible and there's no background noise from my side. Hare Krishna.
No background noise, Marathi.
Okay, thank you so much. Thank you so much. Om Jnanatimirandasya Jnananjala Shalakaya Chakshurum Unmilitamena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhistam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupaha Kadamahyam Dadati Swapadantika Vande Aham Shri Guruhu Shri Yutapada Kamalam Shri Gurum Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagarajatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tamsa Jeevam Sadavaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakan Vitamscha. He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Deenabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Stute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patita Nam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. We'll now put up the deck for today, chapter 5. Can you see my slide?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for confirming. Push this here. Yeah. Okay, so today's chapter is titled Karma Yoga. But this Karma Yoga is going to be more specific with respect to how we need to do our action through devotional service and having everything revolving around our devotion, our love and affection for Krishna, the Supreme and the Absolute Truth. Okay. So let's look at some of the things that we learn from chapter 4. So one thing is very clear, our scriptures are ancient. Just give me a minute. Okay, sorry for this. So our scriptures are ancient, but they are evergreen, and the author is the Supreme Lord himself. So therefore, anything that comes out through, the authority is always nectarian and is always relevant, irrespective of the generations, irrespective of the advancement that we so think that we have made. And that's one of the reasons why these scriptures, have now a lot of people are taking renewed interest, or rather are taking to these scriptures. And as I said yesterday, if the world today is still operating in a certain way that we are able to still engage in our day-to-day activities, it's because of the goodness that still exists because of people who are into devotional service. So we need to be extremely thankful to them, and we also need to see how can we also walk that path and take the benefit or get the benefit of devotion, get the benefit of being Krishna conscious, get the benefit of spirituality, and also ensuring that we are also able to, extend or, or see how we can, make others as well equally aware and help them to get that similar kind of bliss and ecstasy. Now, the secret to comprehend, the secret to understand these scriptures is only by way of surrender, is only by way of accepting that Shri Krishna is the overall supreme and there's nobody equal or above him. Now, if one starts to kind of question that very genesis, then I think we have lost the game. And solidarity, cooperation, and sharing should be a habit to cultivate and has to be lived. We saw in chapter 3, when we talked about the Dharma Chakra, it is very important that we need to share, what we have, or the excess that we have, or things that we are really hoarding for ourselves, thinking that we are going to be eternal, is absolutely a mockery or is actually foolishness. Instead, if we are really able to share it and we have that sense of cooperation to be able to also ensure that everybody, enjoys and as well as benefits and grows, it's only in that way the society grows. If there is going to be that element of, hoarding everything in certain pockets, that's where the kind of inequities or the inequalities develop. So we are responsible for creating equality in society, and we are responsible for ensuring that wealth is equitable. So now what is happening is there are some people who are extraordinarily rich, probably, I don't know why they need to hoard in so much of money as much as they do. God only knows if they themselves understand what they're doing. But I think what is important is, unless we have that habit, or unless we have that, the tendency to kind of also be helpful, I don't think we will flourish as a society. We can't live if the society around us is absolutely impoverished in terms of knowledge and everything else. Be rest assured that we shall not grow. And that is pretty evident. Today the intelligence is actually becoming less and less. And one of the principal reasons is each one is, has got so much of ahankara built around them. They're so egocentric. They don't want to either, share their knowledge. And when you share knowledge, we also need to understand that we need to be equally favorable and equally open to get feedback. Today, that getting feedback or receiving feedback is not there in our system at all. All kinds of material gratification, the bodily gratification, or any kind of thing that we do, frivolously through the mind, is temporary and creates entanglement. It creates bondage and it makes us a prisoner of ourselves. Whereas spiritual upliftment, anything around spirituality is uplifting, it's progressive, and it is permanent. That is more important, because we all, as I said, we all have carried our vasanas from the past birth, and we shall also carry whatever we are doing now into the future. Performance of correct actions, whenever we do the right, it's always constructive and productive. But the moment we indulge in anything that is not progressive, anything that is not useful, is going to be destructive and it's regressive. Fundamentally, humility, submissiveness is very, very important for self-development. And that we need to really choose our bona fide spiritual masters very, very carefully, because this knowledge can only, be transferred through that systematic way. And, that's the only way we will be able to develop the taste. How does the taste? Because, the scriptures, if you look at them the first time when you read them, you'll find it, just going all over your head. But the moment you engage in activities where you are in a group and discussing things in a group, you'll find that the understanding and as well as the comprehension and also the kind of joy that you get out of these scriptures is absolutely immeasurable. So for all of this, the starting point is faith. You need to have faith. Just as the way you have faith when you go to school, that this school will impart education to me. Similarly, when you go to a doctor, you have faith in the doctor that the doctor, what he prescribes to you, is going to cure your disease. Similarly, we need to have faith in the scriptures. The moment we start doubting it, be rest assured that this is not going to help anybody, or it's not going to help us, and we will remain where we are. But however, I strongly believe that we have come together here, and therefore it could be various reasons why we are here. Some of us probably are here because we want to understand what it is, which is a great thing, because that's the way to start on the path of spirituality. And there are a couple of us, probably we know what it is, but then we really want to kind of brush up. That's again another great thing, because it will again help you to get the prop and move forward. The third thing could be that is someone who doesn't know anything, they're absolutely blank, but they want to know, is there something that I am missing out? And that's again is a great thing, because anyone who comes in contact with this knowledge will fall in love with this knowledge, because this knowledge is priceless. So welcome. So we are now entering chapter 5. The overview of this chapter is, it's a short chapter, but a very sweet chapter. Now it has 4 sections. The first one, Arjuna, again, as always, you would notice every chapter starts with Arjuna's inquiry. So Arjuna asks, tell me, Krishna, there are 2 paths for everybody. We can either take absolute, we can renounce everything. So that's a sannyasa marga. Or the other is the marga where we act, where we kind of do and discharge our duties as per the prescribed moral code of conduct. So he asks this question, which one is better? And then the Lord, as always, exalts karma yoga. He says karma yoga actually is easier than sannyasa. Sannyasa is actually difficult because it's not for all, whereas karma yoga can be practiced by everybody. And in the karma yoga, he says nishkama karma yoga is the best, because it actually does not, it helps you to be detached. It does not build any kind of bondage, or it does not create any kind of attachment. And that non-attached way of life is what will help one in liberation. And that is what he's going to talk in around 14 verses from 5.17 to 5.29. Okay. Any questions, Hare Krishna, before I jump?
No, Mataji.
No. Okay. Thank you. So this is the verse 5.1 and 5. I think he asked 5.1, and 5.1 is a question of Arjuna. So let's look at Arjuna's questions. Arjuna says, Sannyasa karmana Krishna punar yoga chashasi yashreya yatayoreka tanme bruhi shunishchitam. Can someone read this? Hare Krishna. Can someone read the translation, please?
Yes, Mataji, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Arjuna said, O Kanaya, first of all, you asked me to renounce work, and then again you recommend work with devotion. Now will you kindly tell me definitely which of the 2 is more beneficial?
Yeah. So, now Arjuna's questions, if you've really noticed, now Arjuna is getting very specific. Earlier, he was little, that the first chapter, and even a little bit at the beginning stage of second chapter, and also in some parts of third chapter, he was still, he was like, he wanted to only kind of listen to things that he wanted. For example, when the Lord said, he said, work with devotion, discharge your duties. He said, okay, I've understood jnana. So now that I know that, I'm a soul and not the body, and everyone else is, or also souls, I've understood everything. So let me do what I want. Let me go away. Let me run to the jungle. Or maybe it's better for me to, beg and live a life of a beggar. Because he really wanted to take, though the Lord didn't say like that. Lord gave the jnana. Then he talked about karma, then buddhi, and then finally he said devotion. He's very, very specifically, he laid out the format. But Arjuna only took what he thought is convenient. He was still not, that conviction was not really there at that point in time. Whereas now you will see from these chapters onwards, his conviction is he's slowly coming out of that wreck, that psychological wreck state that he is in. He's slowly coming out of it. And you see Arjuna blooming. And with Arjuna blooming, it also helps us to we'll also see our knowledge also, increasing and rising. Okay. So let's be thankful to Arjuna for all that he's doing. So now Arjuna's misunderstanding, from where is it coming? See, devotional service is any day better than dry mental speculation, because dry mental speculation is that where, person completely engages in that void, which is the Brahman, which is the all-pervasive energy around us. And that does not have any kind of rasa. Rasa means that it does not help you to engage, because we are social beings and we like action. We like activities. Because that the Lord said, everyone, irrespective of who he is or she is, and irrespective of the nature that they carry, whether in the mode of goodness or in the mode of tamas, or in the mode of passion, or in the mode of tamas or ignorance, everybody has to do something. And every living entity, irrespective of the body type that they get, has to engage in some activity or the other. So therefore, we are beings who have to be always engaged. So therefore, any day, devotional service or engaging in activity with Krishna at the center of everything is always better than generally, less looking into the void and saying, I'll become a mystic. It's not possible. We saw that. Anybody who does something like that, it's a mithyacharaha, because if you have not fulfilled all your vasanas, if you're not fulfilled, or if you're not kind of overcome, not fulfilled, if you're not overcome your desires, it's unlikely that you will be able to achieve that sense of that goal that you have set for yourself. In chapter 10, the Lord spoke about the knowledge of soul. We saw that. That was Jnana Yoga. Then, in the same chapter, he also said each of us have a prescribed duty based on the Varna. And the Varna is basically based on the dispositions that each of us carry. And these dispositions spell out the capacity, the ability, our interests, etc. And based on that, we can fall into any of the 4 categories. Then, he also said, the entanglement of the soul, we all get, completely pulled down, to our desires, because we are kind of, we think we are everything. We forget the Shaktiman who gives us the Shakti. Then the Lord explains how one can actually overcome this through devotional service. And then in the 3rd chapter, he says, there is no duty for a person in knowledge. Actually, one who is absolutely self-realized, the person actually doesn't have to do anything, but yet they do things because they have to set an example, and whatever they do is what the rest of the people in the society follow. And he gave his own example, and as well as the example of Janaka Maharaj. Okay. Now in chapter 4, he says, all kind of work that you do, whether you take up the, the marga of jnana, or the marga of bhakti, or the marga of karma, everything ultimately culminates into what? Knowledge. Knowledge of what? Knowledge that the Supreme Absolute is who is supreme, and we are all subordinate. And in the last verses of chapter 4, the Lord said, so Arjuna, now everything you have understood, now get up and go and fight. Almost in every chapter, the Lord is asking him, as he kind of takes him through a certain tattva or a certain concept, he finishes it, or in the middle, he says, Arjuna, get up and fight. Now it's enough. Now you've understood. Go fight. Okay. So with that, let's start this chapter. So this is, I want to, this is, I think, 5.2. He says, the Lord says, the renunciation of work, just mark these very carefully, the renunciation of work, that is giving up work and taking up sannyasa, and work in devotion are both good for liberation. But of the two, work in devotional service is better than renunciation of work. And I exactly said the same, I pronounced the reasons for why renunciation of work ahead of our preparation for that is going to be fatal. In fact, there are very many people, as we know, across all communities, take up to religious work, giving up, their normal, grahastha responsibilities. And actually, I've given you examples. Those of you who have been attending these classes would know these examples. They actually, they're not able to sustain. So therefore, whenever you do something ahead of your preparation for it, you will not succeed. It is just like, when you have to write an exam, you have to prepare for it. Only when you prepare for it will the exam that you kind of ultimately are able to undertake will come out well. So similarly, anything and everything in life requires a set of preparation, because that kind of conditions you. You have to condition yourself slowly. And how does that conditioning happening? Only when you engage in all the work that you have to do as per your role and responsibility. Unless you discharge those duties, you will not really be able to get the essence of life and also forge yourself towards the goal of liberation. Okay. Any question, Hare Krishna? Okay. Now this is a story of Nerega. Nerega again is was one of the a very great king who comes in the Ikshvaku dynasty, the Raghu dynasty. And he was a great king and he was loved by all, and he just loved to do lots of charities. But whenever he did charities, he always had in his mind that he is doing it for the sake of getting punya. He didn't do charity without the selflessness. There was that selfish intent, which was, I want to do this and I want to kind of ensure that this gives me a place in the heavens, or it gives me a place towards getting liberated and reaching the Lord. He was otherwise a very good king, highly nice man. People loved him, his family loved him, his praja loved him, and he fought great wars, to ensure that his kingdom was safe and his people were safe. But because of this one intent that he had, once when he was doing a charity service, he was giving away a lot of cows to a lot of brahmanas. Those days, brahmanas only engaged in knowledge sharing, knowledge seeking. They would study very hard, and then they would help others to also kind of live a life with the knowledge that they have got by sharing it and helping them to kind of realize the best way of leading life. So these brahmanas obviously had to be given a lot of dan. Dan means a lot of charity had to be given. So the kings and all, great people of those days would engage in these activities, and so that the brahmanas also lead their lives. So in one such activity of Nerega, he kind of, announced a lot of, things that he wanted to help them with. He wanted to help those brahmanas who wanted to get married, so that he gave them a house, he gave them some wealth so that they could get married and settle. And for those who already had, homes, he kind of gave away a lot of, gave them lots of cows so that, they can engage, in activities, through selling milk and stuff like that. And then he also gave some people lands, and, depending on what the person wanted, he was giving them away. And then it so happened that one brahmana who had got his cows, as he was going, one of the cows came back to the stable. Can somebody is in, hello, Hare Krishna. I would request everybody to be on mute. Please. Okay, thank you so much. Thank you so much. Okay, so one of the cows, came back to the stable, and then the Raja didn't know that, and he gave that cow again in charity to another Brahmana. So when this Brahmana was taking this cow along with other cows, the other Brahmana who came he came back because he couldn't see his cow. So he came back and he saw his cow in the hands of another Brahmana. So both the Brahmanas started, got into an altercation, and then finally they said, let's go to the Raja. And finally, they went to the Maharaja. The Maharaja pleaded to both of them, saying that, look, you'll take as much as you'll want, but don't get into this altercation, because I've done this with good intent. But however, both the Brahmanas left all the cows there, and they kind of cursed the king, or rather, they were very upset with the king, and they just walked away. And because of that one mistake, when the Maharaja finally, gave up his body, in the sense when his life ended, and he went, and Yamaraj, was there, was checking the balance sheet. He said, you know what, Raja? You've been an extraordinary man. You have done everything extraordinarily well. So you deserve to get the higher planets, and you will be in the planets that will give you a lot of bliss. But the Raja was a little upset. No, I want to go to the abode of Lord Krishna. So Yamaraj says, no, you cannot, because there is one shortcoming in your biodata. And you will actually be in one of these higher planets, and you'll have to go back to the Earth planet after some time. Once your punya karma gets over, you have to get back, because you have to do the prayaschitta. So immediately Niraga was so upset. He said, oh my God, I wouldn't want to go anywhere else other than the abode of Lord Krishna. Please let me go and do the Prayaschitta. And after doing the Prayaschitta, I want to get liberated. So that's how he became, he had to take the body. So the Yamaraj said, okay, fine. I don't want to really, give you too much of struggle. I'm going to give you a body of a large lizard and you wait. I'll also put you into a well where you really will not be disturbed by anybody. You can stay there until Lord Krishna comes in the Dwapara Yuga. This happened in, I think, the Satya Yuga, if I'm not mistaken. Or maybe at the beginning of Treta Yuga. So in Dwapara Yuga, when Lord Krishna comes, he will come and liberate you. So Dwapara Yuga, when Krishna took this, his avatar, it is said that Lord Krishna came and looked into this well when all his friends and all were playing. They saw this huge lizard and they all got worried. But of course, Krishna knew what it was. So Krishna, touched the body of Niraga, of that lizard, and Niraga got back his form. And then he went back to Godhead. Okay. So the story here, these are all great stories from the Bhagavatam. And in fact, there are a couple of chapters that runs, on King Niraga. Now, the thing is, the story is actually, something that we need to learn from, that a small error of that kind of, making that mistake could lead to such a big prayaschitta. You can imagine the kind of things that we are all engaging in every day, day in and day out, every second, what kind of things we are carrying on ourselves. So these stories are predominantly helping us or are meant to help us to kind of see what kind of reformation, what kind of transformation, what kind of self-development that we need to do so that we kind of don't waver on the path, which is ultimately reaching the Godhead. So what is the proper understanding of renunciation? This is from the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. When you're too eager, this is the answer to, is renunciation or karma yoga, and can one renounce ahead of one's readiness for renunciation? The answer to that is this: when persons who are eager to achieve liberation renounce things related to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, thinking them to be material, their renunciation is called incomplete. So unless we are ready for renunciation, we mustn't even think about it, but constantly do our duties in the best way and also keep Krishna at the center of everything. That will prepare us to getting into that liberation. In fact, a few days ago, I came across one Prabhuji in ISKCON. His name is Pran Govinda Dasa. He is in the US. He was a diamantaire. He was a diamantaire. He was a diamond merchant in the US, and got into somewhere probably in the mid of his life, he got into Krishna consciousness and got so involved. But however, he also kind of did all his duties, did his business and ensured that his wife and his children are all well settled. And then after settling them all, he's now gone into the path of sannyasa. So that is one way of doing it. But there are some people who are very, very, who know exactly. For example, our Prabhuji, the president of Bangalore ISKCON, he very early in life, he knew what he wanted. He knew dharmikta is his way of life, and that is his passion. So some people can, are probably able to take the decision very early. And if that is a very firm decision that they know and they are completely sure, after reading these scriptures and they know this is what they want to do, then it's okay. But without understanding the intricacies of this knowledge, if you take up something later, you will find yourself being very alarmed, and as well as you'll be aghast, and you will not be able to sustain. Okay. So now in the next 4 verses, the Lord is going to say karma yoga is easier than sannyasa. Okay. Is it karma yoga or karma sannyasa? So what is Lord saying? Jyevu sa nitya sannyase yona devnona kai kankshati. I think I'll read it from my book because this seems to be a little difficult. Okay. So he said, Neyaha sa nitya sannyasi yona dveshti na kankshati nirdvandohi mahabaho sukham bandhat pramuchyate. Can someone read this translation? Hare Krishna.
Ji Mataji.
Yes, please.
One who neither hates nor desires the fruits of his activities is known to be always renounced. Such a person, liberated from all dualities, easily overcomes material bondage and is completely liberated, O might armed Arjuna.
Exactly. So when one is neither, there, see, whenever there is no ichcha and dvesha, see, ichcha and dvesha both are bad. Ichcha and dvesha, both of them lead to attachment. When you like something, it's an attachment. When you don't like something, that is also an attachment, because that kind of keeps rotating in your mind. So as long as one does not have any kind of ichcha and dvesha, and he also discharges his duties, with absolute focus on the ultimate goal, which is to kind of join that supreme personality, such a person, though doing his work, is not attached to his work. He actually is a karma sannyasi. He is doing his karma. He's doing his karma. He's doing everything that he has to do. But he is very well centered. He's balanced. He's not someone who is like on a seesaw, who doesn't get upset, or just doesn't go into an upheaval when things are nice and then falls, when things are going bad. He's absolutely in a state of equanimity and does not really allow anything to really affect him, but he stays focused and in doing things that he has to do. Okay. So we have to renounce the results. This is nishkamakam. Renounce the results. Don't have that impression that you are the doer. Keep the ego outside of you. Tell ego, please, I don't want you to reside in me. I don't want you. You please take another seat. Don't come to me. As long as you kind of keep your ego aside, that will make you to renounce the results, but not the action. You will continue doing what you have to do. But what you're leaving aside is that attachment. Okay? Hare Krishna, is that clear? Yeah, so therefore, renounce results, not the actions. Now, 5.6, it says, Sannyasastu mahabaho dukkham aptum ayogatah yoga yukto munir brahma cha chirenadi gacchati. Now, unless one is engaged in devotional service of the Lord, mere renunciation of activities cannot make one happy. See, just saying that I'll just go away, I'll just take up sannyasa, doesn't mean. The sannyasa will make sense only when there is the element of devotion. There are very many people who think, it's fancy to wear that robe, that saffron robe, and call themselves sannyasis or sannyasinis or whatever. That will not happen. You will not be able to really, live up to that role. People will easily see through you, and you yourself will not, feel comfortable in that, because your mind is dwelling somewhere else. Will not make you happy. So the sages, purified by works of devotion, achieve the supreme without delay. So unless devotion comes, see, devotion also, as I said, is a slow process. It comes first. You need to develop that ruchi. Ruchi means taste. Once you have the ruchi, you will kind of, make up your mind to kind of, you'll develop, or you will kind of engage in a sense of determination to engage in activities that will help you to understand or, excel, or at least, work towards, engaging in activities of devotion. And when you do that, you will be able to slowly progress. So there has to be, first, faith needs to be there. Faith, taste has to be there. Then once the determination comes, automatically your faith also gets developed. Once the faith, how does the faith develop? Faith develops when you are in groups of people who think alike. Okay? Now 5.17, he says, Lord, from now to the next 10 verses, the Lord says, Nishkama karma is the one that frees you from bondage. Anything else where you're doing it with an expectation, then that creates an attachment. Now, the Lord says, Yoga Yukto, which is a lovely, if any of you want to, learn shlokas, 5.7 is again one excellent shloka. Yoga Yukto Vishuddhatma Vijitatma Jitendriya Sarva Bhutatma Bhutatma Kurvan Api na Lipyate. Can someone read this translation? Hare Krishna.
Ji Mataji.
Yes.
One who works in devotion, who is a pure soul and who controls his mind and senses, is dear to everyone, and everyone is dear to him. Though always working, such a man is never entangled.
Right. So one who works in devotion, that's why I said devotion is all about love. Devotion is all about affection. Devotion is all about being right. Devotion is all, automatically you'll be right. It's not that you have to make an effort to be right. You will automatically be right. So there's automatic that positivity, that, that energy, the bubbling energy, and that energy of what? Energy of positivity. So such a person will look at every situation that comes in their way as an opportunity and take it as a challenge and conduct it to the best of their ability. So how do they do it? Because of devotion, as I said, is like a sieve. Devotion is like that, curtain. It's like that, you wear all those colorblind, you wear those goggles, right? Which to help you from keeping away from dust and grime and, excessive heat or sunlight and stuff like that. So devotion is like that goggle. It kind of keeps you in that state of sthitaprajna. It keeps you to focus towards your goal. At the end of the day, our goal is to get liberated. So when that is our goal, everything else is meaningless. So we are going to ultimately engage in activity that will help us in our overall growth, and not something that is going to be momentary, and not something that is going to be meaningless. So such a person, when one is engaged in their mind, towards devotion, such a person is not only great in himself, but is also wonderful in terms of his relationship and interactions with everybody. Okay. Now, there is an example. What is this example? Brahmani adhaya karmani sangam tyaktva karotiyah lipyate nasa papena patmapatram ivam bhasha. Means, one who performs duty without attachment, surrendering the results unto the Supreme Lord, is not affected by sin and sinful action. What is the example? Just as a lotus leaf untouched by water. Can someone give me what is the speciality of lotus and the lotus leaves? Hare Krishna. What is the speciality of lotus and the lotus leaf?
Mataji, lotus, the flower is above the water, and the lotus leaf is also means above the water, but it is like the waterproof, something like that.
Very nice, very nice. So how would you relate it to our lives? How would you relate it to all that we have studied so far?
Ma'am, that we are in a material world, but we should not get affected by it.
Super, extraordinary, excellent, great. So if you also know, there's another quality of the lotus grows in slushy, marshy kind of areas. It goes in lakes, right? It goes in lakes which are marshy, which are not really it doesn't grow in pretty unclean kind of waters where the lotus grows well. But the lotus flower is absolutely something that is revered, and it's one of the favorite flowers that is offered to in all our temples and to our altars and deities. And the quality of the leaf is, even if water gets onto that, it remains unaffected. So therefore, again, I come back to one of the previous statements I made. Never ever say that the circumstances led you to doing something. Very many times when we take up, jobs of higher responsibility, especially in important positions, people say, everybody is taking bribe, I will also take bribe. Why? You can be like the patram, like the lotus patram. You don't have to follow what others are doing. Right? Is it necessary? No. Yeah. So therefore, we need to understand that we should not blame things on the circumstance, but we need to see what is the attitude that we want to grow within ourselves. That is in our control. We have to see what can we do in my control. There are certain things which are not in you. You can't avoid, or you can't. Probably it's not in your control to prevent others from doing what they are doing. But you know what you want to do, and that's in your control. Okay. So attitude is what builds one's character. So mind your attitude, and I'm sure you will definitely build a character that is absolutely spotless. 5.11. कायेन मनसा बुद्ध्या केवलैर इंद्रियैर अपि योगिनः कर्म कुर्वन्ति संगम त्यक्त्वात्मा शुद्धाय. Means the yogis, abandoning attachment, act with the body and mind and intelligence, even with the senses, only for the purpose of purification. That means it's not necessary a yogi is a mystic, a sage or anything. Anyone who is, works without attachment and who is unaffected by dvesha and ichcha, and who knows that, that ultimate purpose of life is to attain that liberation. And that liberation is only possible when they kind of, make use of every organ of their body, along with the subtle body, which is the mind and intelligence, all focused towards making sure that, they are steadfast on their determination, and they are not wavering to all the various distractions around them. Such a person will be able to, is a true yogi. Okay. 5.12. Yuktaha karma phalam tyaktva shantim apnoti naishtikim ayuktaha kamakarena phalasakte nibadhyate. The steadily devoted soul attains unadulterated peace because he offers the result of all activities to me. Whereas a person who's not in union with the divine, who's greedy for the fruits of labor, becomes entangled. And this is something I've told you again in several of the previous verses as well. It's not only that, we prepare ourselves for liberation for the future, but it's also, when you kind of lead a life which is absolutely on the path of righteousness. And that only happens when you're absolutely balanced and you're not letting yourself drawn into the negative energy. It also is liberating even in the conduct of the present life. It's not just about the future. It is also about the present life as well. Try it out. Please, each one of you, make a kind of try and do an analysis of yourself. Each one of us know who we are. It's not that we don't know. We think, we are hiding something. Others don't know about something. But each one of us know who we are. And sometimes probably there are a lot of feedback that you get from others. And the best one who gives you the feedback is your own mother. And for those of you who are married, your spouse. They are the best ones. And some people who have children, the children also give one of, very, very innocently, they'll give you feedback. Take the feedback and try and see what is it that you can do to kind of bring in that self-excellence in yourself. Each of us is responsible to build the self-excellence, and that's what the Bhagavad Gita always keeps referring to. Okay. Okay, this is a wonderful video of Prabhupada. The thing that attracted people to Prabhupada was his innocence. The thing that attracted people to Prabhupada was, he had no interest in any kind of material affairs. So much so, even today, you will not hear about Prabhupada's family members being part of any of these ISKCON. Nothing. We don't know anything about them. He is such a selfless soul. It's only selflessness that will help us to kind of shine bright. Okay. Sarva karmani manasa sannyasya sukham vasi navadware pure dehi naiva kurvana karaya. This is very beautiful, See, the king is always, the fort of the king is always well protected. There are several gates around the fort. And each of those gates are well protected because are well guarded, because the king has to be safe. Unless the king is safe, the praja can't be safe. Similarly, the soul is entrapped or is inside our body. I told you each one of us is a soul. Where is the soul? The soul is situated in our hearts. Now, the soul needs sitting, there are 9 gates. What are 9 gates? The 9 gates are 2 ears, 2 eyes, 2 nostrils, 1 mouth, the genitals and the anus. So this is the 9 gates of the body. You want to compare your body like a fort. So we need to ensure that each of these gates are in order and they are not unnecessarily, affected or getting affected. And if any of these gates misbehave, trust me, your soul, which is the king of your body, is in danger. The translation of that verse is, when the embodied living being controls his nature and mentally renounces all actions, he resides happily in the city of 9 gates, which is the material body, neither working nor causing work to be done. Did you get this? Hare Krishna. The soul is not doing anything. Please understand. The soul is not doing anything, and neither the soul is inducing you to do anything. The soul is covered, eternally covered by the subtle body. What is the subtle body? Subtle body is the mind and intellect. The gross body is the physical body that we can feel. Right? If you touch your body, that's feel. This is called gross body. Anything that you can see around you, all that is gross, because you can touch and you can feel that. That's gross. But what you can't see is the mind, intellect, and ego. This is called subtle body. So the soul is covered by the ego, the intellect, and the mind. And what impels you or compels you to do the work is the ego, mind, and intellect. And whatever you do under the compulsion of mind, ego, and intellect is what the soul carries into its next birth or the next janma that it takes. So if at all somebody wonders, how is it that, I am carrying so many vasanas from my thing, who carries it for me? The soul carries it. Got it? Hare Krishna?
Ji Mataji.
Okay. Now,
Once again, repeat, ma'am.
Huh?
Once again, repeat. Actually,
the soul, So the body has the gross body. The gross body is the bones and flesh and blood, and that's a gross body. Correct? Because that's something which you can feel, see, and it is something that is visible. Now, what is not visible to us is the ego, that is our ahankaram. Then the mind, that is the manas, and the buddhi, that is the intellect. These are not seen, but they are always there. Because we act, remember I told you, we act at the bodily level, we act at the mental level, and we act at the intellect level. And in all of them, the ego plays a very major role. That I am doing, I am important, I am great, I am the best, that I. So these are called the subtle body. The subtle body always is the one which is compelling us to do a lot of things. And whatever we do affects the soul, because if the soul is the one that carries the good and the bad that we do through the subtle body and the gross body. And that is what is, it's like a balance. It's like an accountant. The soul is sitting inside as an accountant and just kind of, accounting all the things that we do. So therefore, we have to ensure that we kind of keep our subtle body, engaged in activities so that it does not get contaminated or it does not get adulterated, because the adulteration and the contamination is what the soul will carry into our next janma. Just as the way, we have carried a lot of things from our past birth, the same thing will happen into the next birth. Okay? So 5.16, can someone read the translation? Hare Krishna.
Ji Mataji.
Yeah.
When, however, one is enlightened with the knowledge by which nescience is destroyed, then his knowledge reveals everything as the sun lights up everything in the daytime.
Exactly. It's very simple. So once you have the knowledge, so now, we are slowly gaining the knowledge. So once we gain this knowledge, our ignorance will be destroyed, just as the way when the sun rises, everything is, absolutely bright in the daytime. So we have to ensure that we not only have the sun in our life only in the daytime, but we also need to have that enlightenment in our hearts, in our mind, and our intellect all through the day, all through the 24 hours. 5.17. Tad buddhayas tad atmanas tan nishtas tat parayanah gachanti apunar avrittam jnana nirdhuta kalmashah, which means When one's intelligence, mind, faith, and refuge are all fixed to the Supreme, then one becomes cleansed of misgivings through complete knowledge and thus proceeds straight on the path of liberation. Very, very simple, straight. When we are able to kind of keep away all kinds of negativity, all kinds of things that will actually make us get us into the path of irreligion or adharma, or things that are actually going to that we are going to regret, or something that is not going to give us that peace in the current life, and also was going to make life miserable for us hereafter. When we are able to kind of, give up all that, or we are able to kind of keep that all in check, that will actually help us to inch towards the goal of liberation. 5.18. This again is an excellent shloka for those of you who want to kind of learn. See, all 700 shlokas. There are very many people who have memorized 700 shlokas, but there are very, very beautiful shlokas in every chapter. This is one of them, 5.18. I told you 5.17. Now this is another one. 5.1 Yoga Yukto Vishuddhatma. That is one. Now this is Vidya Vinaya Sampanne Brahmane Gavihastini Shuni Cha eva svapake cha panditah samadarshinaha, which means the humble sage, by virtue of true knowledge, sees with equal vision a learned and a gentle brahmana, a cow, an elephant, a dog, and a dog eater. Such a person is a humble sage. Now, does it mean that you have to be a sage with a saffron robe? No. It means a person who does not distinguish between a higher caste person or a lower caste person or an animal or a human being or a person who a dog or a dog eater. These are people who indulge in very material and very physical kind of living. So one who does not distinguish between anybody, such a person is a true sage. So can you and I be a true sage? Yes, we too can be a sage if we are able to inculcate a swabhava of this sort, where we do not distinguish between the high and low. Today I was reading on the Twitter somewhere, I believe, somebody kind of, beat up a man because he drank water or he took water from the so-called upper caste kind of people. What is upper caste? Till now, you have come till 5 chapters now. Is the Lord anyway calling the Brahmana an upper caste and Shudra a lower caste?
No, Mataji.
No. So who is doing all this? We. Why? Because of our own greedy needs. We are all greedy. We are all dirty. We are all completely, we have kalmasha. We are completely, we have put only, clay and the dirt into our heads. I was shocked when I read that. To this date, and today, of course, there's another great thing that happened in Karnataka today. But anyway, forget it. But what I'm saying is, the real richness in a person comes when you're not actually discriminative. The moment you turn discriminatory, however, whatever education, whatever money you have, whatever great looks you have, whatever great strength you have is meaningless.
Excuse me, ma'am.
Huh?
Ma'am, in the last, where you gave the example of a person who beaten up another person just because he drank water from the pot which was meant for the higher caste. So, and in the last slok, we are saying that we are not meant to discriminate any person, right?
Yeah.
So, if that person did, that's a bad deed that he did. So, so we should not even discriminate that person as well.
Which person? A person who's a good person?
No, ma'am. The person who beat, like in this slok, we are said to be a person is only humble when he doesn't discriminate between anyone.
Yeah.
So there's that person who beats up another person. So we are not supposed to look at him in a bad way. Is that what?
It is bad because what they are doing is they're doing it out of ignorance. Now, who is upper caste? What made me think I'm an upper caste and you as a lower caste? Who gave me the right to distinguish?
Yeah, ma'am, that's absolutely
right. What gives me the right for me to suppress? Who am I to suppress you?
Ma'am, that's not my point. I'm asking that the person beats up another person, that's the wrong guy.
Definitely.
So I am asking, are we not supposed to hate that person?
We don't have to hate him, but we need to kind of bring in that sense through the knowledge. See, now all of you are reading this. I'm sure you will definitely carry these tattvas, these concepts, and probably, a few of them you will try to, realize and live in your lives. So therefore, we need to see how is it that we can change our society. We have to abhor. If I am in a capacity, suppose I have a certain role to play. If I am in a polity, or if I am, in a bureaucrat, if I'm a bureaucrat, I should take an action where such things don't get repeated again.
Okay, so in order to take action, we have to discriminate between the wrong and right.
Absolutely, that you have to do.
Yes, ma'am.
Because of the wrong, why did the Lord take this avatar of Krishna avatar? Because he says, I come. He says, Yada hi dharmasya glanir bhavati bharata abhyuttanam adharmasya tadatmanam srijami. He says, as and when there is irreligion, I will come. And whenever there is irreligion, whenever there is a rise in irreligion, I will come. Why? Because paritranaya sadhuna vinashaya chatuskrita dharma sansthapanarthaya sambhavami yuge. Because I have to protect the people who are my devotees.
Okay, ma'am.
So that discrimination we have to do. But however, when everything is in situ, when everythking is equal, who am I to say that somebody is an African, someone is a who's born in a Kshatriya family, someone is a Vaishya, someone is a Brahman? No, everybody at the end of the day is the same. It's just that we all have different coverings based on whatever the karma that we did in our past life.
Okay, ma'am.
Today, if you look at it, there is so much of atrocity that is happening because people don't understand the entire system of life.
Yes, ma'am.
People getting raped, people getting molested. There is no age. I mean, 3-year-old child getting raped. There's a 30. I was just reading the paper today. In Chennai, I think, there are 21 people who are accused people are there. There's going to be a verdict pronounced soon. They kind of, indulged in kind of, physical assault on a 13-year-old girl. And there were women also in that group. So that is the level to which we have fallen. That is the level to which we have really, we have kind of, we are sucking ourselves up into, we have become worse than animals.
Degraded version.
We have degraded, absolutely degraded. We have no morals, right? And
yes,
this is not a stray case. There are several cases like that. I just told you 1 or 2. Okay. So 5.21, just give me 5 minutes. I'll finish the chapter. This is a short chapter actually. So the Lord says, such a liberated person is not attracted. Who? The humble sage, who does not distinguish between anything. Such a liberated person is not attracted to any material sense pleasure or external objects, but is always in trance, enjoying the pleasure within. In this way, the self-realized person enjoys unlimited happiness, for he concentrates on the Supreme. So when you are able to really live up life to what the Bhagavad Gita says, you will find happiness in yourself. You don't need somebody else to induce the happiness in you. That is Haridas Thakur. He's called the Namacharya. He was such a nice person. The king of that place was jealous. He wanted to kind of break his celibacy. So he kind of, sent a woman, a very pretty woman from his village. He said, go and distract the mind of Haridas Thakur. So she would go and stand and, she would, tell Haridas Thakur, I want to talk to you. Haridas Thakur would tell her, look, he would do the Namacharana, around 2 to 3 lakhs times a day. So you can imagine if 2 to 3 lakhs, 4 lakhs is what you're going to say, the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra, how much time it will take. So it would be almost, 24 hours, he's almost saying the Maha Mantra. So this lady, every day will she go and stand and she'll tell Haridas Thakurji, saying that I want to talk to you, I want to make friends with you. He will say, sure, I will definitely make friends with you, but let me finish what I have to finish. And by the time, he's finishing, this lady would, will feel so tired, she'll go back to sleep. Then one day, every day, she kept doing this. And ultimately what happened, she saw that this man was absolutely, in a state of complete happiness within himself. Then she asked him, I have a request. What is it that gives you so much of happiness? So the Lord said, he said, Haridas Thakurji said, he's a disciple of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. He said, try and say this, Maha Mantra. And she took to it. And she found so much of bliss in that. She went back to the king and she said, you are an evil man. You unnecessarily doubted the goodness in a saintly person. And it seems she gave up all her wealth. She was a very wealthy woman. She gave up all her wealth, and she also started, getting into this process of creating awareness amongst people on the importance of devotional service. This is a true story. This you will be able to read in the Chaitanya Charitamrita. And in Srimad Bhagavatam also, there's a lot of reference to it. So 5.22. This is a beautiful shloka again. An intelligent person does not take part in the sources of misery. What is the sources of misery? The sources of misery is us. It could be at the body level, it could be at the mind, and it could be at the intellect. So an intelligent person does not take part in the sources of misery, which are due to contact with material senses. O son of Kunti, such pleasures have a beginning and an end. So the wise man does not delight in them. For example, these are all the moth flies. The first thing, okay, let me go back to the previous one and come back to it. Okay, these are the moth flies. You would have seen moth flies, right? As the first drops of rain, when it comes, a lot of flies, they come and they all go towards the light and fall. Why? They shouldn't be doing that. If they did that, they were going to die. And that's what they do. So our urges, our material urges are also just like that. They actually kill us. They may not kill, the moth at least dies. It comes in contact and it dies. But for us, it only gets us entangled. Another example is the deer. I believe the deer, normally, people, the poachers, the way they catch the deer is through a music. They play some kind of a music, and the deer loves music, and it goes towards the music, and then they would have created a pit and the deer falls into that. So the material distractions are like that. They will distract you like that. The moment you attract yourself to that, you will get attached, or you will get completely stuck, and you will never be able to come out of it. The other example is of the lotus flower. I believe the bumblebee goes to the lotus flower because it just loves to kind of, take the nectar from the lotus flower. But the lotus flower, by dusk, it just closes down. When all the petals close down, the bumblebee gets caught and it dies. Because no oxygen, it dies. So what was it? What drew the bumblebee to the lotus? The attraction of honey. Now, how does the fish get? How do people, the fishermen, catch fish? Through bait. It sees a little thing, and it says, oh, there's a food, and it goes and gets caught. So similarly, we should not allow baits. There are several baits in our lives. There are several baits in this world. We should ensure that we don't allow these baits to get us caught. And therefore, once you get caught, please understand. Remember, we read that shloka, right? Habits gets created, and some habits are so hard, they're like the embryo in the womb. And there's also elephant. The way they catch elephant is by showing the elephant, a female elephant. It's the male elephant looks at the female elephant in the because of its desire to kind of go to the female elephant, it gets caught. So of course our desires are, some people have desires for wealth. Wealth again, is going to be nasty. The more wealth you have, it only gives you sleeplessness. And some people are attracted to the flesh. Some people are attracted to food, and different people, and some people to power. But ultimately, what is really, really something that is permanent is things that we do, in a state where it is going to give you absolute peace and happiness. And that state is only devotional service or spirituality. So 5.23. So before giving up this present, the Lord is questioning us. Before giving up, it's like, imagine how sweet the Lord is. He says, before giving up this present body, if one is able to tolerate the urges of the material senses and check the force of desire and anger, he's a yogi and is happy in his world. I don't think anyone can make things so simple and so straightforward and tell us in such straight words that, look, if there is something that you can do, please help yourself. And 24, one whose happiness is within, and who is active within, who rejoices within, and is illumined within, is actually the perfect mystic. So what is the Lord is saying is, we don't have to really renounce and go wear the saffron robe and become a sannyasi. You can still be the karma yogi and follow all the things that are necessary by keeping all the distractions away and being the sthita prajna and being steadfast in your goals. That will give you a lot of happiness, and that happiness is permanent happiness, and that is the one that helps you towards liberation. Okay, and we need to understand what we desire is what our thoughts will be. If I think I want to have a gulab jamun, my thoughts will always be looking for the gulab jamun. Always gulab jamun kab milega, gulab jamun kab milega. Jab gulab jamun ek baar mil gaya, I'm very happy. I take the gulab jamun and I liked it and I want more and I keep doing it, and that becomes a habit. So you may ask, how does habit get formed? Habit starts with a desire, with an earning. Oh my God. The chah. In Hindi, you say chah. The chah say, what happens? You keep thinking about it. Always. I want it. Your mind is like, oh my God, when do I get it? When do I get it? When do I get it? And you get it and you keep looking for it. And as you kind of cultivate more of that, that becomes a habit. So habit has to be very, very strictly watched. You may sometimes, I think somebody else that is, cold coffee, once in a while it's okay, but every time you see the cafe day or the barista, or I think now we don't have barista, or the Starbucks, your heart yields for the cold coffee, then that's a bad thing. Too much of caffeine is not good for the body. Once in a while anything is okay. So 5.29, what's the peace formula? Bhoktaram yagna tapasam sarvaloka maheshwaram surdam sarvabhutanam yatva mam shanti rachyati. This is again another beautiful shloka. See if you can memorize it and memorize the translation as well. The sages, thus knowing me as the ultimate purpose of all the sacrifices and austerities. Sacrifice means all the offerings, and austerity means the discipline. Austerity in the sense is not just giving up, it is discipline. So the sages, knowing me as the ultimate purpose of all sacrifices and austerity, the supreme lord of all planets, he is the creator, he is Anadi, he is Adi, he is the primeval lord. So one who knows the supreme lord is the creator of everything around us, and he is the Shaktiman, and he is therefore the benefactor. He gives us everything. So benefactor means he gives us everything. He is the giver. And he's also the well-wisher of all the living entities, because he's eagerly looking, because we're all his Amsham, right? We're all his Amsh. He wants us to get back to him. It's less like a parent, when we go to school, they're eagerly looking forward to us coming back home. So similarly, the Lord is also eagerly waiting for us to get back to him. So he's a well-wisher of all the living entities, will attain peace from the pangs of material miseries. So this is a peace formula. What is a peace formula? The ultimate purpose is the Lord. He is the benefactor, and he's actually a well-wisher of all of us. And once we are able to kind of stay away from the distractions that happen around us, we will be able to live a life peacefully with him in everything that we do, and ultimately we will be able to get purified. See, ultimately the soul is pure. We have contaminated with the sheets of the subtle sheets of mind, intellect, and ego. So we have to see how can we de-entangle, or how can we ensure that we don't let the ego, the mind, and the intellect to unnecessarily get corrupted. And the more we work towards that, the soul will finally be able to get the purity, the quality that the Lord is all about. Okay. So Hare Krishna. With that, the chapter summary: Sannyasa or Karma Yoga. Definitely Karma Yoga is better than Sannyasa. However, if those of us who can really take to Sannyasa in a very serious way, at a strict way, and know that what we are doing and fully, in the know of it, it's fine. Otherwise, what Lord is prescribing is Nishkama Karma. Karma Yoga or Nishkama Karma, better than Karma Yoga, Nishkama Karma, without any desire on the results of the action. And he says, what will help us doing that is devotion. Okay. So with that, we end this chapter. Tomorrow is Dhyana Yoga. So this chapter ends. Hare Krishna. If there are any questions, I'm happy to take a few. Any questions, please? Hare Krishna. Any questions?
No, ma'am.
Okay, Hare Krishna. So we'll meet tomorrow. Vancha kalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhobhya evacha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namah. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. We'll meet tomorrow. Have a nice evening. Hare Krishna.